we've got the radio affectionately known as the Hanging Horror. 4 valve, made by Radio Limited. They came with a chain or a cord to hang them up on the wall. A lot of them fell off and smashed, and I believe that's where the name came from. It may have been one coined by John Stokes, I'm not actually sure. I seriously doubt the factory would have come up with that name. So I bought this recently in an auction. Probably paid too much for it, but I've always wanted one, at least just to have a look at it, then I may find a new home for it. It's in reasonable nick. The case definitely needs a clean. The knobs I think are original. These did come with a base, a pair of feet that you could stand them up on, and we've got a couple of holes here, one with a screw in it, and I'm assuming that that's where the base screwed in. I don't have those, didn't come with it. Fortunately didn't come with a cord for hanging it on the wall. I may actually hang this one when I'm done, I'm not sure, I'll just see how we go. I'm not convinced a 4 valve is going to be particularly effective out here in the country where I am. But anyway, it's an interesting one to have a look at. Radio Limited also produced an extension speaker in this same cabinet, obviously without the holes here. But you could get this as an extension speaker. I've never seen one, but I've seen pictures of them. Power cord, it's got some tape jammed in there that's not ideal, so we'll deal with that. But first of all, I'm going to whip it apart and have a look, see what's inside, and we'll go from there. I just noticed a couple of things at this point which I don't think are right. This power cord out through the vent holes for a start. There is a cutout in the bottom which I assume the cord would have come out through. I don't particularly like it coming out through here. That's metal insulation on, metal on insulation, which is never a good look, and this is almost certainly a aftermarket performance modification. One thing I hate about these chocolate block connectors is that they tend to get cut in a really ugly way, and no one ever bothers to clean them up. Drives me nuts. You end up cutting yourself on them. So yeah, you can hopefully see here the damage the aluminium has done to this power cord. So we'll put that back or through where it's supposed to be. There's a cable clamp down here which is good. And yeah, other than that, it looks pretty neat and tidy. I will grab the service information, which I probably should have done before I pressed record, but this looks untouched, completely untouched. We've got a fabulous Hunt's capacitor down there. Locked door valve, rim lock valve, EL41 probably. I'm assuming this is the rectifier. I will actually go and get the service info and just stop guessing. But it looks to be all original, doesn't look to have had capacitors changed or fitted. Everything is looking fairly factory in here, which gives me a problem, because if it's all factory, do I want to leave it original, or do I want to restore it to working condition? So the circuit is pretty straightforward. There's nothing very special in there. 6B6, which is commonly found in a lineup completely unlike this one. 7E7, same deal. EL41, same deal. And a 6X4. It's a bizarre lineup. This almost looks like these are the parts we had lying about. Let's make a radio. I'm sure there's more to it than that, but let's see what we can find poking around in here. Speaker code 2, so 1952. So the set was produced in 1952, and the speaker code here is 1952. So this, I don't know how many years they made these for. It's often quite hard to tell, particularly with radio limited stuff, because a lot of their stuff was produced for extended periods, but there's no, unless you find adverts in a given year for a model, there's no easy way to tell. There is, I believe, from about World War II onwards, a serial register book floating around somewhere, and I believe that that does contain serial information and dates of manufacture. Just how useful that'll be, I'm not sure. But at this point, what we've got is a quandary, because I'm still not sure yet whether I actually want to start diving into this. It's not a super rare model. They pop up reasonably regularly. I don't think it's going to be a super useful radio to me as a radio, and I do like my radios to be radios. So do I clean it up, leave it as is, and pass it on? This is always a really tough question, and this is why I have so many radios, because I don't like passing them on, I like keeping them. And that's not a jealous thing, I want it, you can't have it. It's just, I like radios, and they seem to like me, and they come to stay, and then they just never leave. So, I don't know, this is an unusual one. I don't have any hanging radios as such, and there weren't that many made. And the fact that it's all original means I don't particularly necessarily want to power it up. I probably will on the dim bulb, just to see how bad, if at all, things are. But in terms of actually doing the setup, it's going to take away some of the originality. Now, obviously stuff has been done to this, because the power cord is not poking out the hole it should be, but that may have just been a new plug fitted. That's, whoever did it's poked it through there for whatever reason. There are some screws missing. Certainly we've got the set floating around here, and that's not right. In fact, the chassis may be free at this point. It may just be the weight of the transformer holding it in. Oh, there's one screw in this top corner. So it's definitely been out before, and whoever took it out didn't bother to put the screws back in, which is, yeah, everyone that restores a radio complains about the person before them not putting the screws back in. That's pretty common. Alright, I got some tape around there. Ah, I see what's happened. Maybe this is a case of hanging horror striking. So we've got broken post here, broken post here, broken post here, and slightly broken post here. This was the last one that had the screw in it, and that'll be why. So maybe this has been dropped, and maybe that is all the damage it sustained. Right, we can't screw the chassis in properly because of that damage, unless I rebuild those, and even if I rebuilt them I wouldn't trust them. So I'll give that some thought as to what I'm going to do there. For now I'm going to pop this somewhere safe. So it's been quite dusty, there's a lot of dust and dirt on there. This has popped off. Right, we have a dial cord issue. This pointer's slightly bent as well. Dial looks okay. It's a little bit curled, but at least it's intact. That'll clean up nicely, get the dust off that. I'll straighten this pointer, clean this edge up. I'm not sure what that sellotape was doing. It looks like it was around here. I suspect it was somebody's attempt maybe to secure this down, given that there's only two tiny rivets holding this dial in. Oh, actually there's a third one here. So it's obviously been curling up at the corners and curling up here. There's some glue under here, someone's tried to glue it down as well. So it has had some work, largely unsuccessful by the looks of things. Hopefully, yeah, I'll get that dust off the grill cloth. That's good, that's going to clean up alright. I do have some old grill cloth if I ever had to replace this, but this is in fairly good condition for its age. I certainly wouldn't replace it because nothing I replaced it with would look as good as that does, or as original as that does. It's held down pretty well. I'm not going to clean it, I'm not going to try anything with that. Like I say, we'll give this dial, I'll give the front of it a bit of a clean up, just to get the dust off it, but other than that I'm not going to do too much there. Okay, so it could be the dial cord comes up and it runs under these wires here, and I suspect it may have been rubbing on one of the wires. We'll just check everywhere else it goes. I think either we're missing a pulley. Actually, I see where it is rubbing. You probably won't, but there's a pulley here and it runs up the side of the volume control, and then it does a beeline straight across to this one, but the speaker is in the way. And I wonder if there's supposed to be a pulley under there at the bottom of the speaker just to go around the base of it, but there isn't that I can see there, and it's actually dial cords rubbing on the speaker. So at this point I'm going to have a look and see. I do have one photo of an inside shot, and I don't know if it's going to show me enough detail. The dial cord actually comes straight across and must go around this brown drive drum again. So what we've got is it's coming up to this pulley and then straight across to here, and I think it's actually supposed to come straight across around that drive drum again, maybe one wrap, and then come across and up. Now the cord that's in there, that would mean it must be a replacement, because it'll certainly be too short to do that in any meaningful way. So I've got a couple of options here. I can try and put maybe a longer screw through that speaker and use a little roller from another chassis just to divert it around, or I can restring it. Let's get this out of the way. Since we're going to have to re-terminate this, let's take the plug off. So let's have a look here. I don't know why someone's done that. It's almost like they weren't sure which one was which, but these triple flexes, the inner insulation is actually coloured, so this one's black, which is neutral, this one's red, which is phase, and this one's green, so the insulation tape serves no purpose in that sense. And this is not safely terminated. We've got wires and frayed bits, and that is unacceptable. Certainly not safe. And this has actually been soldered as well. Now, again, this is going back to Air Force training, which is many years ago. But if you're going to screw terminate something, you don't solder it. The reason is that solder is soft and it crushes, and so over time that solder can crush even further under the screw and come loose, and when you get a loose connection you get a high resistance joint, you get more current flow, which creates heat, which creates more resistance.
Good. I told 2 friends about it, and they told 2 friends, and so on, and so on.
It's a deep breaths. So I have 2 dogs. I have a Staffy, who's pretty good, and I've got a doofus, Bud, the Hunterway. Now he has just barged through here in his usual Bud fashion and bowled a box of valves, which now means I've got a pile of broken glass on the ground, which never mind. Where were we? We got the plug apart. Alright, so where was I? We were looking at the dial cord and what I can potentially do with the dial cord. I can't leave it like that because it's actually rubbing along that speaker screw, and that effectively means that sometime in the probably near future it's going to rub through and break and leave some poor sod trying to figure out what on earth is going on. Now, it has just occurred to me that there is a little sketch on here that someone's done of what looks like a dial cord. Yeah, so they've done that and shown where the dial cord should be, which is not how the dial cord is. So according to this diagram, it should come down from the drum. The outside one should just go around here once and along and up and come back, and then wrap round a couple of times and then come up back to the drum. It's quite the opposite here, and I don't know why it's been done this way. Possibly it was all the cord they had. I'm not really sure. So I may actually restring this properly, because that's just not even close to suitable. Okay, so I've had a quick look around, and the only removable pulleys I've found are this one here, which due to the dial light being where it is, actually if I pulled this off before you could have probably seen a lot more what the problem is. So if I put that down here where this cord is rubbing, and it's kind of jammed there. But if I put that pulley on, it'll be in the way of the bulb, and vice versa. So what I need to do is actually do this properly. And if this was running straight across to that drum, it would be there and off the screw. So a deer, a female deer. Well, here's the thing, it's not right, and because it's not right, I need to fix it.